What's good, EFD gang? You know what it is when you come to Transfer Review. We're going to give you a headline, we're going to give you EFD fixes and a shocker. And joining me today is the legend that is Patrick Van Straten. How are you doing today, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm wearing my gym kit, ready to go for a run after this, and I can just see the weather getting steadily worse out the window. So just need to smash this one out so that I can go punish myself in the rain. How are you?
I'm good, man. But I can't lie, everything that's happened the last few days has rattled me. And that is our headline story. It is the GOAT that is Messi trying to leave home, trying to get out of Barcelona. But for the headline, we're going to talk about where he could potentially go. All week, we've been seeing Chelsea dominate the headlines. Obviously, we've made a few signings. But Messi said, nah, I want to take over the shine. And he is apparently trying to leave Barcelona, and it is believed to be the worst thing that could happen to the Catalonia club. Of course, due to contract issues and possible legal battles, it may take a while until Messi gets his sensational move away from Barcelona. That would be for free, of course, but it hasn't stopped the rumour mill. Of course, there's potential suitors for the legend, and Manchester City are at top of the list. Spanish outlet Radio Catalunya are saying that Messi has already contacted Guardiola about a possible switch, and an account supported by David Ornstein at The Athletic. If not City, obviously, PSG are right behind them. And Thomas Tuchel has openly said that he would love to work with Lionel Messi at the Parc des Princes after the Champions League. However, there are a whole host of reasons why Messi may ignore any advances from the Parisians and head to Manchester United given the opportunity. But what are they, Patrick?
I think you mean Manchester City, man. There's the last thing we want is him going to Manchester United. Can you imagine Joe Tomlinson's disgusting smile? Yeah. It would be awful.
He would be buzzing.
I couldn't deal with it. It would be the worst time ever. But I mean, Man City have been kind of working on this for a while, right? It felt like when they got Pep Guardiola, that was the culmination of like years and years of work. And it does seem like they've pretty much set their club up so that if the possibility of signing Messi ever presented itself, they'd be able to do it. I mean, obviously, he's 33 now, which was probably not their dream. They probably hoped they'd get a shot at him when he was a bit younger.
Yeah.
But there are loads of established relationships between Messi and the backroom staff at the club. So the director of football at Man City is Chiqui Begiristain, who was a director of Barcelona. They've also got Ferran Soriano there. He's their CEO, and he was the vice president of Barca for 5 years in the 2000s. There's a guy called Rodolfo Borré, who was a coach at La Masia when Messi was there. And of course, there's Pep Guardiola too. And one of the rumors has said that if Messi were to go to Man City, he would require assurances that Guardiola was going to stay on as coach past the end of his contract, which is in 2021, I believe. Now, obviously, despite his age, Messi's going to be an upgrade on basically anybody in the City lineup. Like last season, their four main attackers, I guess ahead of De Bruyne, like in that front line, were Aguero, Sterling, Jesus, and Mahrez, and they managed 81 goal involvements between them, which is pretty lethal. But Messi got 45 on his own, at a rate of 1.2 expected goals and assists per 90. He's obviously still one of the best forwards in the world. Like, that's something that Aguero's managed to do over very small stretches of his career. But bear in mind, that's like Messi's lowest number in a long, long time in a weak Barcelona side with almost no support for him. And he sustained that still over the course of a whole season. So, look, there's I suppose that if you imagine him at PSG, you get to imagine him alongside Mbappe and Neymar. And that is pretty exciting. Yeah, but at the same time, Sam, like, I could put you in alongside Mbappe and Neymar. I still think that you'd win Ligue 1. I don't think you'd be great. You know.
Come on, Pat, rate me a little bit more. Bit more.
Are you Eric Choupo-Moting levels? I don't know. I'm not sure. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be that fun necessarily to see Messi blitz Ligue 1. Because I remember that there's like on one of Arsenal's like kind of family days once a year, like a bunch of the senior first team players, like 3 of them would take on like 60 like 5-year-olds like at the lowest level of the club's academy, and you would just see like Sead Kolasinac like run like a tank through like 50 kids, and they'd all just go flying. That is what Messi in Ligue 1 will look like. So I'm just not that excited for it. Whereas obviously Man City gunning for that Champions League trophy. Messi's obviously already like a legend of the game. Like, he's the biggest player in Barcelona history. He's the biggest player in Argentina history. He's the biggest player in the history of Spanish football. But if he were to go to Man City and help them to that first Champions League as well, then he would become instantaneously like one of the greatest figures in their history too, right?
But would you not say it's the same thing as if he goes PSG? And the only that, like, I understand, like, I would love to see him at City. I'd love to see him in the Premier League. Obviously, all those doubters that said, he wouldn't be able to do it at a cold night at Stoke. Okay. But do you get up? Like, I think with PSG, he gets the comfortability of playing with Neymar and Mbappe, people that are kind of on his level in terms of attacking output. And also, he's been doing a lot for Barca in the last few years while they've been going through a terrible time. I think he genuinely might just be fed up and just wants to enjoy football again. And I think if he goes City, he's going to have that pressure all over again. Every single week, the media, everyone's going to be onto him every week. But for PSG, it's literally what you do in the Champions League, and that's the ultimate prize he wants to win, right?
But in a way, isn't that more pressure? Because City, like, they're going to be competing for every trophy that they're in. Whereas PSG, because it's assumed they're going to win all their domestic trophies, their entire season hinges on like 1 or 2 games in the Champions League. And if I were him, I'd be a little bit like, that doesn't interest me, man. Like, he obviously still likes being the main man. And also you can argue that at City, like, he would have creators around him that he has just not played with for like 5 years. Like 2014-15, you know, when he had Neymar, who's obviously, you know, to me, despite the lack of consistency you could argue in Neymar's game, Neymar is probably the closest we've seen to Messi over the last 10 years. And then he had Iniesta behind him. You could imagine that if he goes to City, he's going to have Kevin De Bruyne behind him, who is the best creator in the world right now, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'd kind of think that's going to be fun for him. And it's hard to tell what's fun, right? Is fun like just walking through games and battering teams 8-0, or is fun like playing as well as you possibly can, milking the last couple of like good seasons out of your talent? I don't know. To me, I think if I were Messi, I'd be excited to go to City. Just because I think, I wonder how many goals I could score with Kevin De Bruyne. And not just Kevin De Bruyne, but also guys like Sterling and Mahrez. Got to give them credit. I don't know. I in a way, if he goes to City, it's going to be a bit of a write-off because I just think they'll win the league at a canter. But watching him every week would be amazing. Yeah, he'll break every record. He'll break every record. And yeah, I would love to see him like go to like Sheffield United and they say, "Oh, can he do it this week?" and he just absolutely slaps them like every week. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, 100%. But what do you guys think? Do you reckon he'll be good at City or PSG? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll move on to our next section. So we move on to EFD Fixes, where we analyse transfer rumours and offer alternatives if they don't manage to come off. This week we're talking about Chilwell, as he's reportedly going to leave Leicester. Is basically done, but we're trying to see what Leicester can do to get him replaced. Brendan Rodgers obviously won't be amused, as they originally priced him at 80 million. Now it's being touted that he's going to come to Chelsea for 50 million. Well done, Roman. But obviously Sky Sports have revealed the Englishman is already ready to sign a 5-year contract worth 190k per week. It's a bit steep, but we'll allow it. He's young. He's got a future ahead of him. You know, let's not talk about the figure too much. But obviously that leaves the Foxes with a gaping hole at left back, with only aging Christian Fuchs and inexperienced Luke Thomas capable of filling in. However, 50 million is a serious chunk of cash, so Rodgers will obviously be able to find a handy replacement. According to the Daily Mail, there are 2 players that he's looking at replacing him with: Fulham playoff hero Bryan and Atalanta's Robin Gosens. Obviously, Bryan only joined Fulham from Bristol City for £6 million back in the summer of 2018. Though it's believed the bid of the region, 50 million, could tempt the Cottagers into negotiations. Gosens, meanwhile, has enjoyed a meteoric rise in Serie A, joining Atalanta from Dutch outfit Heracles for just 800k back in 2017. This season alone, he scored 9 times and registered 8 assists as Gianpiero Gasparini's hugely excited team recorded a historic third-place finish while exiting the Champions League in the quarter-finals. Gosens will cost up to £26 million, but has far more experience at the top level than Bryan. But which one would you be likely to look at, PVS?
I quite like Bryan, actually. I think Bryan's quite decent, but I think that Fulham are going to keep hold of him, and I'm not sure he's good enough to merit a spot at Leicester. Like, Gosens I really like, but Gosens is mostly played as a left wing back, and obviously they play with a back four. I think they should probably go for a quality left back, and there are actually quite a few around. So there's Sergio Reguilon, who spent last season on loan at Sevilla from Real Madrid. Obviously, he's linked with basically everybody who needs a left back right now. He ended up being named La Liga's left back of the year. He only got 4 goal involvements in the league, but he's unbelievably quick. Like, he's got like 1.6 dribbles a game, and when you see him, it's not that surprising, right? Like, he's just motoring past people. Apparently, only 8 players in Spain carried the ball further than him last season. So he was just flying up the wing. He's 23. Rumours are he's available for 20 million euros. Obviously, Real Madrid are selling at pretty reasonable prices this summer if the Hakimi deal is anything to go by. So I think they have to consider him. He'd be exactly the sort of signing that Leicester have managed to close in recent years. You know, like getting Tielemans when other clubs were kind of umming and ahhing. Those are the sort of moves they should be making. The other one that's heavily linked with them is Nicolás Tagliafico coming out of Ajax. He's a bit older at 27. 26 million euros, so similar price to Gosens. I don't know, like, I'm always a little bit wary of getting defenders out of the Eredivisie because it's not the most defensively sound league. But his defensive numbers are really solid. He's got like 6 tackles and interceptions a game, which for a team that have so much of the ball shows that he is like a pretty active presence on the left flank. Making 10 tackles and interceptions a game in the Champions League, which is nuts. I mean, obviously Ajax again were involved in kind of a group of death. Like, they had some pretty insane fixtures, like that 4-4 with Chelsea. So I don't know. Maybe you want to take those numbers with a pinch of salt, but I think that he'd be a solid option, maybe a little bit overpriced. Last bet, Alex Grimaldo. Alex Grimaldo is somebody who we've seen time and time again linked with a move away. He was linked with Chelsea, he's been linked with Arsenal, he's been linked with Man United. Like, every Premier League club at some point has been touted as the next destination for Grimaldo. Still at Benfica though, 24 years old, La Masia graduate, as we know. Ranked 6th in the Liga NOS last season for assists. Consistently has very, very good creative output, though he does take a lot of set pieces. 7th for crosses, which is not really the style that Leicester play. You know, they're not really whipping in balls for Vardy, right? Because he's not exactly a massive aerial threat. But he obviously does have vision. He's got a great left foot. So you can imagine maybe that he'd be able to kind of fit in quite nicely. And he's a possession fullback. He plays in a side that want to keep the ball. They're tidy. They want to pass it around. That makes sense for a Brendan Rodgers team. So I think any of those would make a lot of sense. But to be honest with you, I'm a bit unsure as to what they're going to end up doing here. So if anybody's got an interesting shout, then let us know in the comments below. My personal preference would probably be Reguilon. Do you have one? Who would you like out of the list of players?
I actually really like Reguilon. I wanted us to kind of get him. Chilwell, it makes sense to come to Chelsea, but if we didn't get him, that would have been my option. So I think I'm with you on that one as well.
Interesting. Well, we'll see if the fans agree with us. Let us know in the comments below.
So we move on to Transfer Shocker, our last section of the day. And this one is actually quite shocking. It is Demarai Gray to Tottenham Hotspurs. I know Spurs fans won't be particularly happy about this one, but he is linked with you guys. Football Insider claimed that the young Englishman has actually spoke to Jose Mourinho about the move, but it seems a bit strange considering that Demarai Gray hasn't really been a first choice option at Leicester City. He's 24 years old. He's made 21 appearances in the league last season, with 18 of those coming off the bench, resulting in only 609 minutes of action. In fact, he completed only 90 minutes 3 times all year, all against low opposition in cup competitions. He's hardly been prolific in attack too. The former Birmingham star managed just 2 goals and 3 assists while only 1.9 shots and key passes per game is hardly anything to be excited about. It's no wonder, really. He has been stuck behind. Harvey Barnes has done quite well. Jose Perez, who's also had an on and off season, but understandably started ahead of him. Both players Rodgers clearly trusts more than the former England under-21. But Pat, what do you think of this? I don't really know how I feel about this.
I would love it to happen because I don't rate Demarai Gray at all. Like, I just don't.
Oh,
like, he's and I certainly don't rate him for Spurs. You know, you're totally right. Like, he's not a starter at Leicester, and he's not a starter like he plays every other game. He's not a starter like he never plays. Like, they went and spent 30 mil on Jose Perez rather than playing him. What does that tell you about how good he is? And football, I mean, to be honest, Football Insider, literally no idea who they are. But they reckon that Spurs could potentially pay 20 mil to bring him in. If they did that...
What?
If they did that, like, I mean, that would make Arsenal getting Willian on a free, like, the greatest move in football history. Like, relatively speaking. Gray has 10 months left on his deal. If you pay 20 mil for a guy with 10 months left on his deal, you are absolutely insane. And I just don't see any way that he'd push Spurs on. Is he better than Lucas Moura? Is he better than Eric Lamela? Not really. Like, in 4 full seasons at Leicester, he's never managed more than 5 goal involvements in the league in a single campaign. That's mental. In 2018-19, he played 2,000 minutes. Like, I just don't... So it's not like he hasn't had a chance. He has had a chance. But he's just not particularly good. Every now and then he'll score an absolute screamer, like that one against Man United. But he's just not consistent. And I don't know what he's good at. He's not a particularly good dribbler. He doesn't work hard defensively, which at least you can say of Jose Perez. He's obviously not a goal scorer. He's not creative. Like, relative to guys playing on the wing for Spurs, like Lucas Moura, who works really hard, like Heung-min Son, who's one of the best wingers in the league, I just really don't see what Gray has to offer. So maybe if you went to a lower Premier League side, you know, like a Brighton or something.
Is Spurs not a lower Premier League side than Tottenham? I mean, not than Leicester.
They're okay. I don't mean like lower in the table. I mean like as in the lower half of the league. Like,
okay,
if
no,
he went
I was thinking that as well. Like, he should actually make a move to maybe Aston Villa or a team that is looking for more options. But to be fair, Leicester this season were actually all right, and compared to Spurs, like, it looks like Spurs do need a few more options out wide. And if Mourinho actually has spoke to him and says, we're going to give you more minutes than you had last season, I guess it makes sense.
No, but he's just not good enough. Like, I mean, if you offered me Demarai Gray on a free at Arsenal, I would say no. Truly. Like, because like you're still spending money on his wages, and I don't think he's good. I mean, like, also we've got young players in those positions, I suppose, who are better. So like that's an easier decision. But Spurs have players in those positions who they are paying a lot of money. Like, Lucas Moura isn't paid nothing. Like, you might as well play that guy. And I just think if you're talking about a free. If you're talking about 20 mil, there's got to be something they can do that's better with that money. 20 mil is still a decent chunk of change. Like, you can buy a play. Yeah. Like, isn't that about what Newcastle pay for Alain Saint-Maximin out of Ligue 1?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's true.
So I feel like you can go and get like a more intelligent, more skillful player like Alain Saint-Maximin, rather than resorting to Demarai Gray.
He's still young. He's still young.
He's not that young.
To be fair, when I watch him play, no, but he is 24. Is kind of
24,
young, and also
24. Like, you expect
at the top level as well. So
does he? Like, I mean, yeah, but what does that count for, man? If he's only played 600 minutes last season, 24 I don't think is as young as people think it is for an attacker. Like, don't get me wrong, like, he's obviously got years in the game ahead of him, but he hasn't got years to improve. Like, normally by the time players are about 24, 25, we're starting to see them hit the sort of output that they will then maintain through their late 20s. And, you know, like, where they're, like, there are players, like, younger than Demarai Gray who have been written off, like, 2 or 3 times already. I don't know. I just think that there's better to be had out there.
I don't know. I think he's one move away from really, like, sticking and making a name for himself. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And yeah, Pat, do you have anything that you want the guys to go and watch or listen to?
There's always the podcast. You can check out the podcast on Football Daily Podcast. That's the new dedicated YouTube channel. Recently, we've spoken about the Champions League final. Obviously, we've got How to Fixes coming up on Atletico Madrid, Roma, and Southampton. You can also check it out as a podcast using whichever podcast app you like, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. You'll be able to find it on there. And please subscribe. Give us a 5-star review if you can be bothered. It really helps us out.
Cool. And make sure you subscribe to EFD, FD, everything that we're doing right now. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Messi updates, so make sure you keep an eye out for where he can go. And we'll see you guys next week. See you later.